Josh, the Daily Mail, the first of a number of stories this evening that suggests a possible pre-election stiffening.
Indeed.
See what I did there?
I did see what you did there. Businesses recruiting new staff will have to hire British workers first under non-negotiable curbs on migrant labour, Work Secretary says. This is Mel Stride and the Work and Pensions Secretary, and this is obviously to cut down migration. We have to, or in the past, we've had to do these visas, special visas for hospitality, for construction and care where we have gaps. Yeah. And he's basically saying, you have to hire British people. Now, to do that, of course, they would need to increase the wages. Yeah. Just by saying you have to hire British people doesn't mean that British people are necessarily going to take those jobs if they're low paid. No. He says at the end, he says, look, there's no reason why.
It's very hard at the moment to determine, because normally in a labour market you go, well, is unemployment high? If unemployment is high, then people will work for lower wages, blah, blah, blah. It's all that kind of supply and demand thing. But that just doesn't quite feel like you can find any hard edges on that at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
This is it. Well, he says, look, I see no reason why a British worker cannot be a care worker. Well, the reasons are that they don't want to be. No,
they've been allowed to grow up to think they won't have to be.
And it doesn't pay well, and it's not a particularly nice job cleaning up people's poo,
And you might well find you're surrounded by, historically speaking, non-British people, and you feel somehow like you've lowered your status to... this is a reality, isn't it, psychologically? Once people slip out of these kind of modes, they don't think that...
I don't blame the British people. Everything worked fine before this massive amount of immigration. We filled all the jobs with British-born people. It was not a problem.
We didn't have old people, though.
We didn't have old
people. The idea that we didn't manage is complete fiction. We didn't need all this immigration, and Mel Stride saying ex-convicts can do it instead. As long as they're British-born, I'm fine.
Some jobs have changed, and it's interesting. I mean, it would be a good question whether neutrally speaking, objectively speaking, you would say, is it better to spend 8 hours a day on a production line screwing in widgets, or is it better to spend 8 hours a day in a care home, in the warm and dry with a certain amount of decision-making, but also occasionally having the squalor of...
But it's going to make costs go up for the consumer. That's the thing. That's
but what I mean is a lot of traditional jobs that might have been regarded as having a certain amount of status, a certain amount of... there would be, you'd be with a gang of mates and you do a hard day's job in the factory and then you go and have a few beers. A lot of those jobs have gone, Automation has done for those. Even the call centres now have gone overseas. And you're left with what some people regard as pretty, squalid, undignified work. Yeah. I don't think just wages are going to hit, I don't think it's an extra couple of quid. I think an awful lot of people just don't fancy that kind of work.
Let's see. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it that immigration will actually come down. But finally, that people are making the economic argument. Maybe it will, because the cultural argument may not work for everyone. But people are now realising economically it's not benefited us either. So I'm hoping finally it comes down.